Peter Holmstrom and his family moved from Portland to the UK during his school years. After that, he attended college in New York. While living there, another native Portland guitarist, Courtney Taylor Taylor, along with his band, crashed at Pete's apartment after a gig. Upon returning to Portland, Pete learned that Courtney was no longer in that band. The two guitarists formed the Dandy Warhols, very popular in their hometown, soon after gained praise and recognition nationwide, and before long, internationally. Peter, a great guitarist, bassist, and keyboard player, has remained with the Dandy Warhols while venturing into various projects, including his band, Pete International Airport. It was great to catch up with Peter and hear his story, and get a preview into the new Dandy Warhols album, Pinups, a collection of cover songs by some of their favorite bands and artists, including The Cure, Gang of Four, The Clash, Bob Dylan, and The Beatles. Stay tuned. Welcome to Frets with DJ Faye, the place to hear great music and interviews with fantastic musicians. Stay tuned. Peter Holmstrom, thanks for taking the time to talk today.
Yeah, you're welcome. Nice to meet you.
Are you at home or in your home studio at the moment?
I'm at home. I was in the home studio because most of these are Zoom calls, so I was all prepared for that.
Oh, sorry.
Clicked on the link and it took me to the website instead. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, phone call. All good.
But you are surrounded by guitars.
Yeah, most of the time. Guitars, basses, keyboards, random percussion instruments.
Yeah. Well, I do want to discuss the upcoming Dandy Warhols album at some point, but if it's cool, I'd like to go back and talk about your life before the band came to be and what music you were into in your early days.
Okay.
Well, I think some of your education was in the UK, and then you went off to college in New York, returning to Portland. But before all that, what music do you remember hearing, growing up in the Portland area?
Well, actually, even before before my family moved to Portland, I remember my dad playing Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon.
Nice.
And just kind of being fascinated by the sounds, more the room full of clocks than anything else in particular at that age. But still, it was just cool sounds. And my parents always had the radio going, so there was always a lot of classical music, some folk music, a little bit of reggae. It's kind of all over the place, just stuff they liked.
And that would have probably been in the 70s, I guess, that time
period? Yeah, 70s for sure. And then when we did move to Portland, they always listened to NPR. And then I remember there was a show called Word Jazz.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you can look up, they've got episodes on YouTube and probably elsewhere, but it's such a weird, cool thing. But yeah, I don't know, always been fascinated by kind of that sort of experimental sort of play with words and effects and sounds, and I don't know.
Well, I always ask, was guitar the first instrument you learned?
No, probably not. My parents kind of put me in different music lessons, growing up. There was I think it was a Suzuki learning music class where you kind of played around on keyboard instruments and probably some percussion stuff with a group of also untalented kids. Just made a racket. So there was that. My dad did bring home an acoustic guitar, classical guitar, when I was probably about 6 or 7. And those would have been the first. He taught me a little classical piece and a scale. And those would have been the first things I learned on guitar. But I also played some saxophone and some recorder and I don't know, other random things. But guitar was the one that I came back to and stuck with.
Was anyone else in the family musical, or did they play instruments too?
No. My sister tried to played the flute for a bit, but that didn't really stick. And that was pretty much the extent of it.
It sounds like it was was encouraged, like if your dad brought the acoustic home and all that.
Yeah, yeah. It was definitely encouraged. I don't think they quite knew what was going to happen, but they were always incredibly supportive. So
That's great.
yeah.
Well, am I right that you attended grammar school over in the UK?
Yeah, I was when I was 10, we picked up and moved to the UK to Bristol for 3 years. And so, yeah, had 1 year of primary school and 2 years secondary at a grammar school. I forget exactly how their system works, but yeah, it was interesting.
I'll bet. Now, was that because maybe your parents or one of your parents was transferred over there?
My dad got a job opportunity over there, and my mom, she was born in South Africa of like English descent, and
Oh, wow.
so had relatives there and wanted to live there. So my dad found this opportunity, and we just picked up for a few years, moved over there.
That's very cool.
Yeah,
And then at some point you attended college in New York,
yeah. I went to NYU for a couple of years.
but you ended back in
And
Portland.
yeah, a bit lost when I spent a year in New York after I graduated and just kind of didn't feel like I was doing anything besides going to a bar and working, you know.
Right.
So I had the band that Courtney was playing in at the time came and did one of those like CMJ festivals, whatever.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And a couple of them stayed at my apartment, and they had brought their girlfriends, and it all just seemed like they had their shit way more together and things were happening for them. And so I was at that point was just like, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm moving back. I didn't know what I was going to do. I certainly had no plans to be in a band at that point. And within a month of me moving back, Courtney had been kicked out of its band, and we started the Dandies.
Okay.
So yeah, it was ended up being the right move.
Yeah. Well, while you were over there in the UK, obviously you must have been exposed to some different music during your period there too.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It was like full on post punk.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I mean, I don't know that they called it that then, but the whole two-tone movement was going on, the whole like Madness and the Specials. I remember kids like just decked, just looking so damn cool.
Yeah.
And I was so awkward back then.
Right.
I admired that, but there was no way in hell that I was going to be that cool. But yeah, it was all so damn cool.
Yeah, that would have been the right period for that. My first time in London, I think I was 19, and my dad went over there on an assignment. It was only for like almost 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks or something like that. But yeah, I remember while I was there, it was my first exposure to seeing, guys with safety pins in their cheeks and all that. I was like, okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, all the times we went to London, there would always see the big old mohawks and bondage trousers and stuff. I had no idea what any of that meant or anything. It was just sort of cool and frightening.
Hey, I want to talk about Plug. Plug makes it easy for you to purchase the personal technology you need at 40 to 70% off retail pricing. What can you get from Plug? Certified pre-owned devices including iPhones, Androids, AirPods, Macs, smartwatches, accessories, and more. I originally didn't even want an Apple Watch, but I got one from Plug and I love it. I wear it every day. Your purchase is backed by their unmatched 1-year warranty and 30-day money-back guarantee. One more very cool thing, Plug is dedicated to helping reduce e-waste around the globe. To date, Plug has helped save over 1 million devices from reaching landfills, and they're looking to double that number by 2025. Link to Plug Tech from the show notes, and check out all the great deals and savings on certified pre-owned devices. Plug Electronics. Check it out. Well, it's interesting that that's the way you and Courtney met. I was wondering about that too. And then I don't know if this was back, when you were back in Portland. I'm assuming it was, but well, it had to be because I know there was a different drummer originally. But Brent DeBoer, he was is Courtney's cousin.
Yeah.
So, but when you guys finally you were back in the States and talking about, you said Courtney was not in his previous band anymore, and you guys you and Courtney formed the Dandy Warhols. It all came together, and then Zia, was she part of, when did she come in the picture?
So she was, I guess, technically the second keyboard bass player. Courtney's girlfriend, Gretchen, was the first, but that did not last long. I think maybe 3 shows, and then they split up. And then I think we played 2 shows without a bass player, one of those without a drummer. Just, I don't know, weird little things. And then a friend of ours knew somebody, had worked at a Starbucks with Zia, and knew that she wanted to be in a band. And that was the extent of her music knowledge too. It's like she just wanted to be in a band. She didn't know how to play anything. And so we ended up meeting her, and it, I don't know, seemed like a good idea.
So once the band came together, it didn't seem like it was real long. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys built up quite a following, and then ultimately a following that wasn't just in the States, but internationally. I mean, do you feel like it was a while, or does it all seem like it was just, wow, this is really happening? Like we're a band now, we're recording, we're putting out albums, and then...
It definitely went quick, but nothing was kind of so overwhelming that it freaked us out. Everything came along like right when we were ready for the next step to happen.
Gotcha.
So, it's like we started recording a demo probably like after 3 or 4 shows. And, probably about 6 months after our first show, we had signed to our local indie label. And, a year later, we had our first record done out, even, I think. And then like that summer, it's like we were being courted by major labels. And yeah, it did happen very quickly.
Capitol came knocking.
Yeah. Honestly, they all came knocking. Capitol was maybe, it's hard to say whether it was the best move or the right move, but it was the one label that kind of talked to us all as opposed to just Courtney.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if that was even part of the decision, but that's why the rest of us liked Capitol more than, say, Elektra or Sony or whatever, whoever else was there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, throughout the course of the band, when now you're putting out albums, you're recording, you had written a lot of songs, of course, for the band, but you had written a lot of songs. And, when did the idea for you to do like Pete International Airport, like to do a side project? It's not like you're bailing out. You were just like, hey, I want to do this other project.
So initially, like anytime I came up with a chord change that Courtney thought was interesting, he would, write lyrics to it and we would turn it into a song. And it was kind of one per album sort of thing for a bit. And when we were doing Monkey House, he stopped being interested in what I was doing, or maybe what I was doing was just not in line with what he was interested in. So I ended up with a sort of more of a stockpile of these ideas. So at a certain point, I felt like I needed to complete them. So that's kind of how it started. It's just I had this stockpile of songs, or not even songs, ideas. And since then, it's just become a way for me to, really obsess on the, little details and things that I want to do that don't fit with the Dandies necessarily. I really like all the different alternate tunings and kind of lots of drony stuff, and I'm now maybe slightly more complex chord structure to a song. I don't know, whatever it is.
Right. Well, I'm so glad you did, because I love when musicians decide to branch out into other projects, and your stuff was very experimental in a great way, and you get some amazing sound out of your guitars.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Lots of people making fun toys to play with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wish I had more. I have 3 electric guitars and an acoustic. And I'm, for what I do, which isn't a lot with it, I just play for my own enjoyment. But I do fantasize about having just this, big room full of like guitars someday. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hey, Dave, what's something you've been doing for 45 years?
I've been attempting to get better at playing guitar for at least 45 years. And what about you?
Well, I'm part of a team who's been selling music for 45 years. It's Euclid Records' 45th birthday!
Yay!
And our NOLA store is turning 15.
Any plans to celebrate?
Oh, yeah. All kinds of plans. A big party. Stay tuned to our socials for details.
I've been a Euclid Records customer since the late 90s.
Oh, thank you for your loyalty. Yeah, 45 years of serving music lovers across the globe because we have our own shipping department. New and used vinyl, CDs, and cassettes. We do special orders. We do whatever it takes to get music into the hands of music lovers everywhere.
You also buy vinyl, right?
Oh, yeah. We buy vinyl, also CDs and cassettes, for cash or trade. It's how we've amassed such a renowned collection, which you can shop 24/7 at euclidrecords.com. Wherever you are, Euclid Records is there.
Euclid Records is in St. Louis, New Orleans, and wherever you might be, 24/7 at euclidrecords.com. Well, the Dandy Warhols have released at least a dozen albums, including a recent, really great one in 2024, Rockmaker. It's a great record.
Thank you.
Really liked it.
Very proud of that one.
And Rockmaker featured appearances by Slash, Debbie Harry, Black Francis. That was very cool. But yeah, I was kind of looking back over the catalog, and I think I had learned about this a long time ago, but I just sort of escaped my memory. But I mean, Rockmaker wasn't the first time that you guys had guest appearances or, personnel that were invited to play on the album. But at one point, didn't Parker Posey play like mandolin?
Yep.
On Welcome to the Monkey House, I think, right?
Yeah. And the other one that gets, the other people on that record that get sort of completely ignored is Nile Rodgers.
Oh, that's right. I did see that.
And Simon Le Bon and Nick
amazing.
Rhodes, obviously. It's like but the Nile Rodgers ones, like that nobody made any fuss about that back then at all. That's really weird.
Yeah, and you would think. I mean, he was huge, and I loved all the stuff he did.
Yeah.
Well, I remember. Well,
and then of course there's Mark Knopfler and Mike Campbell. On a song too later.
Huh. Well, the Nile Rodgers thing is making me think of. We mentioned, Debbie Harry sang vocals on one, but I always really liked. I don't know. I think I got mixed reviews, but when Debbie Harry put out "Cuckoo," and she had, that was there was a lot of Nile Rodgers guitar and, Devo sang backing vocals, but which is pretty amazing. But Nile Rodgers, I did notice that he played on that album. That's pretty amazing. And on Rockmaker, am I right that it was primarily you and Courtney in the studio and maybe Zia, but Brent at that point had moved to Australia. I guess he maybe moved a while back.
Right. He moved a long time ago.
Okay.
It was just during the pandemic, so there was no getting him over. And Zia was not into the idea of that record at all. Okay. And so it's just she would show up every once in a while and just kind of, I don't know, just it's hard to come up with stuff when you're not interested in it. So yeah. She's come around to liking the record, but she did not get it at first. I didn't get it at first. It wasn't until I actually wrote one of the riffs for a song for The Cross. And then it was like, oh, this is cool. This is fun. It's a new approach. And then, ended up writing over half the record with Courtney.
So at that point, you were into it.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. It all, like the songs were coming like I'd sometimes probably 2 or 3 a week. So it was pretty quick. Yeah, it's fun. It was very, very productive time for me.
And then Rock Remaker, was that stuff that just didn't make it onto the original album? Or?
No, those are all remixes.
They're all remixes. Okay.
Yeah, and that's I love hearing, other interpretations of songs, and that was a project I was championing, and I really wanted to be a full record, but I couldn't get anybody else really interested in it at first. But getting Andy Bell to do a remix, and Oliver from Place Very Strangers, I love those guys' work, and then Anders from Trent Muller, I love his stuff. So it's like I just knew they were going to be like cool things.
Well, yeah, I do need to listen to that whole thing. I listened to a track or two. Well, I first saw Dig at a film festival in St. Louis way back when it first hit the theaters, and I had not seen that in years until recently when I decided to watch it again. It's tough to watch, but it's fascinating.
Yeah.
I would guess is it painful to think about some of that period or no? Or is it just, a lot of good came out of that period for you guys?
It's not painful for me to think about that time, because what we experienced wasn't really that bad.
Right.
Seeing kind of what Anton was going through and what Jonestown went through at certain points it's rough, but I don't know what their experience was. So it's, I don't really think about that part. The film itself is, I don't know. I can't watch it.
I wondered about that.
I've seen it a few times, obviously, but I won't watch it again. It's not how I remember things, and okay. I know for a fact a lot of this footage is out. Like, it's used to tell a story, and it's a good story. I wouldn't call it a documentary. It is. I don't know. It's not necessarily fiction either. So it's a weird thing, but it did end up doing great things for Anton and Jonestown. They were brought to the world's attention essentially through it, but Anton had to go through like hell for years with people just turning up wanting to see him, kind of melt down on stage. Right. And that's horrible. The best thing about Jonestown is their songs. They're a phenomenal songwriter.
Yes.
So, and if they're not playing songs, it's just a Jerry Springer show or something. It's just, It's not fun.
Right.
But that is kind of our culture.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's a weird movie. Still don't know if it was necessarily good or bad for us. We were doing just fine without it, and then it came out, and that's kind of when our career started going the other direction. And not necessarily because of the movie, but the press definitely turned on us at that point. But they tend to do that eventually anyway. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, I do appreciate you talking about it a bit, because I was just very curious what your thoughts were, and I completely understand. I think you, the way you summed it up was like, yeah, I could totally see that. So anyway, well, thanks for indulging me on that.
Hey, this is Peter from the Dandy Warhols, and you're listening to Frets with DJ Faye.
Well, I'm excited about, and I want to hear about, the upcoming Dandy Warhols album of cover songs, Pinups. You guys do your own versions of songs by The Cure, Gang of Four, The Clash, The Cramps, The Runaways, even Dylan. A lot of great stuff there. But how did the idea come about?
Well, we've, over the years, we've been asked to do like covers for different compilations, and then have done some covers for B-sides and just other random ones here and there. And a lot of those are not available, and not none of them, but most of them were never available or weren't available on vinyl. So it was just something that we wanted to compile and release. And Mike Nesbitt at Little Cloud Records has been bugging me about this for years. So kind of finally got it together. And it's such a cool collection of songs. And
Yeah.
There's a few that have never been released and a few that were like, I don't know, exclusives for whatever streaming service back when after like B-sides for 7 inches and stuff became obsolete. And then there's some from B-sides back when B-sides on 7 inches came back.
Yeah.
So it was fun sequencing it. It's like they're kind of all over the place. Some aren't properly mixed. Some are terribly mixed. Some are really nicely mixed. They're all very weird.
Well, I've been building up my vinyl collection again, and I'm a sucker for colored vinyl. So it looks like you can get it looks like you can get the album on, what is it, translucent yellow with baby blue blob. Baby blue blob. Okay.
I know.
I'll have to get it.
That.
I just get a bang out of color descriptions of vinyl these days. They're pretty creative. Pete, you've had an amazing music career, and I admire your guitar playing and songwriting so much. We really didn't get into gear much, and I don't always anyway, but I am intrigued. I'm intrigued by those Tao guitars you have. I assume it's pronounced Tao, like the Eastern philosophy.
Huh.
Or is it Tao? I don't know.
I think it's Tao.
Oh, okay. I was assuming
even
though,
yeah, that's a Belgian company. I only have one of theirs, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the guitars I've been playing lately are built by a guy named Saul Cole, Koll.
Oh, yeah.
And he's here in Portland.
I read that. I don't know anything about him, but I read that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's makes fantastic guitars. He made me the black one first. It was kind of be a replacement for my SG that I played for 20 years. I loved it so much that I ordered 2 more and then another one. Now that's kind of all I play live, except for the bass 6 for a few songs. Yeah.
Like I said, I just assumed my mind went to like the Tao of whatever. So it's Tao. Okay, that makes sense then.
And those guys, they're out of Brussels and they make stunning guitars. Their shits it's all just a work of art. And I want them, but I also don't want things that just sit around and look pretty. I want to take them on stage and beat the hell out of them. And it just doesn't seem right with some of those guitars.
Yeah.
They're just so beautiful.
I like their tagline. It's I saw it on their site. It says, "We don't make guitars, we make statements."
Yeah, for sure.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, Peter Holmstrom, thanks, man. So cool of you to take the time to be a guest on Frets. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, man. Well, best of luck on the release of Pinups. I'm sure people are going to love it.
Yeah. Can't wait for people to hear it. It's
all right.
Fun. Cool.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Thank you.
See you. Pinups, the new album of cover songs by the Dandy Warhols, releases Friday, March 20th on vinyl, CD, and also digitally. You can find more information in the show notes to this episode. Thanks a lot for listening to Frets with DJ Faye. If you're enjoying the podcast, tell a friend. And remember, you can subscribe for free at most podcast platforms, including YouTube, where you can find extras, including videos and shorts.
I'll be the mail, you'll be the guard. I'll be the ink on your season ticket card. I'll be the rubbish, you'll be the bin. I'll be the paint on the sign if you'll be the tin.
Did you dig this chat? Then check out past episodes. Please subscribe, tell 2 friends, and follow Frets on Instagram and YouTube. and leave a glowing review wherever you're hearing this episode.